Welcome to the final panel in our Cyber Trends 2023 series. I'm Lisa Easterly, President and CEO of Cyber Center of Excellence, or CCOE. We are a San Diego-based nonprofit that mobilizes businesses, academia, and government to grow the regional cyber economy and create a more secure digital community for all. Cybersecurity is now everyone's business. The FBI reports more than a 300% increase in cybercrimes across all industries since the pandemic began, with the global cost of a data breach climbing over $4.4 million. More than half of these costly attacks are aimed at small and medium-sized businesses, and that's our region's economic engine. So now pair that with the global shortage of cyber professionals to thwart these attacks to the tune of about 570,000 openings in the US, about 7,500 here in San Diego, and it becomes mission critical to address this systemic risk. The good news is San Diego is leading the charge with more than 1,000 cyber firms and the Navy's Information Warfare Systems Command. The cluster accounts for more than 26,000 jobs and has a total economic impact of $4 billion annually. That's equal to hosting 24 Comic-Cons for all you fellow Marvel fans out there. This collaborative ecosystem is developing new technology, defenses, and cyber warriors to combat the ever-evolving threat landscape. So let's tap into this robust expertise with our esteemed panel today and talk about the evolving cyber threats, requirements, and available resources. It's my pleasure to welcome our panel. So Ian, why don't we kick off with you, sir?
Yeah, hi, my name is Ian Brazill. I'm a program manager with the City of San Diego, but during today's call, I'm going to be representing the San Diego Regional Cyber Lab, which we've sort of developed as its own entity. It aims to be a regional cybersecurity resource to public and private agencies alike. And I'll get into some of the specifics later, but we're really excited to be on this call today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Ian. Mr. Oregon.
Hi, I'm Joseph Oregon. I'm the Chief of Cybersecurity for CISA Region 9.
Wonderful. And then Adham, bring us home.
Thank you, Lisa. So my name is Adham Shaaban. I wear dual hats as the Chief Information Officer and Chief Security Officer. So Chief Information and Security Officer, I like to say, for forward slope, which is convenient sometimes because if there's ever any issues between IT and cyber, I just have to sit down with myself and resolve them. So that's pretty good. And Forward Slope is a mid-sized defense contractor here in San Diego. We work primarily for the Navy, but we also do projects for the DoD all over the world, really.
Wonderful. Well, we're excited to tap into this robust expertise today. So as we round the end of 2023, I can't believe that, let's kick off our discussion with the cyber trends we've seen this year, from AI-driven social engineering to ransomware as a service to major changes in the cyber insurance markets. Joe, what is the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, seeing as the key threats impacting our region that all organizations should have on the radar?
I appreciate the question, Lisa, and thank you. And as you and many of our viewers and listeners may already know, we at CISA are the newest agency in the federal government. CISA is also the premier cyber defense agency for the United States, and we are responsible for leading the nation's mission to understand, manage, and reduce risk to the cyber infrastructure of our country, which provides us some very unique perspectives. So as we look at trends, we're constantly reviewing threats, tactics, techniques, procedures, or TTPs as we call them, reported to us by our stakeholders and partners across the United States, and from partners abroad as well. And we have seen the adversary continue to target small, large, medium businesses, as well as our government and infrastructure. Our .gov and critical infrastructure is constantly being bombarded by criminal hackers and foreign adversaries alike. We are all still observing many attacks focusing on what we call low-hanging fruit, and that's to say malicious actors are attacking system vulnerabilities which could have been prevented. As an example, our partners are still reporting attacks using attacks that are leveraging and using emails with malicious hyperlinks and attachments. And unfortunately, this means phishing and other tactics are still successful. So those of us in the cybersecurity community have a lot more education and training to do in order to make sure that we're spreading that message. Ransomware is also heavily impacting our businesses, as we've seen in the last couple of years, and continues to do so. The use of double extortion techniques has skyrocketed, and that's per our partners at the Bureau, at the state as well. And after reviewing the details from partners, we can surmise here at CISA that many of the attacks could have been prevented by leveraging some common cyber hygiene practices such as multi-factor authentication, the use of strong passwords, training for employees, etc. So as we kind of look at it, we at CISA have broadened our awareness, not only to just take a look at what we're seeing at face value, but also at emerging technologies and upcoming technologies. And a lot of those are designed, and as we all know, to help us in the community, in our day-to-day in our communities, but there also can be leveraged for nefarious purposes. So our artificial intelligence is one of the technologies that we're trying to understand the downstream effects and how nefarious actors are manipulating that technology. So I think as we go into 2024, our attention and focus will remain the same, but include some emerging considerations. 2024 elections are front and center as we transition into an election year. We will continue to provide support to target-rich and resource-poor sectors like K through 12, healthcare, water and wastewater. We will also continue to drive various resilience projects here at CISA, like Secure by Design and Secure by Default. Now, Lisa, these are just a few that we have on our radar here at CISA, and we encourage our partners to stay engaged. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that you can stay up to date on a lot of these topics and emerging topics here at CISA.gov. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you, Joe. Unfortunately, as we mentioned in the intro, cybersecurity is now everyone's business. There isn't a single industry at this point that is not a target for bad actors and or the potential, weak or soft underbelly to a larger supply chain. So great information and very helpful details can again be found at the CISA website. So, according to San Diego Military Advisory Council's annual Military Economic Impact Report, San Diego's defense industry represents a quarter of our regional economy, and these government contractors are now required to comply with increasing cybersecurity standards. Adham, what do you recommend for small businesses working to meet Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, or CMMC, and NIST 800 standards? And what can non-defense companies learn from these models that will likely matriculate into other industries in our region?
Oh, that's a great question, Lisa. I mean, first, let me just take a step back and give a quick background about CMMC and the cybersecurity compliance requirements for defense companies. So many years ago, the DoD realized that many of the unclassified projects that defense contractors, or the defense industrial base, as it's more formally referred to, work on, they contain sensitive information that can harm national security if it's leaked. But in some cases, those unclassified systems. In some cases, those classified systems were actually, very similar to the classified systems, with the only difference being that the data that's running on the system has a different classification. So just long story short, the DoD decided that, the defense contractors must at least show that they have implemented at least some kind of basic level of cyber hygiene. And this is how that Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, or CMMC program, got started. So, and in a nutshell, and I'm definitely being, simplifying things here, but it calls for the implementation of cybersecurity controls that are stated in a NIST document called the NIST 800-171 publication. And right now we are awaiting the release of the final rule that will formalize CMMC 2.0 program and put it before the DoD can start putting it into the contracts and makes it a contractual obligation for all DoD contractors. That's projected to start in the first quarter of 2025. But my top recommendation is that don't wait, start now. So don't wait for the final rule to be finalized, because there's a lot of work to do, and you can definitely start to work now towards getting ready and getting secure, and that would tremendously help when it's time to get your assessment completed. So start looking at the NIST 800-171 controls, implementing them if you haven't already done so. And my other recommendation would be to approach this with the goal of actually getting secure, because you want to enhance your cybersecurity posture. That's really the ultimate goal. And I really like the saying that in the cybersecurity world, compliance does not equal security. So there's work to be done. And in doing the work to getting secure, compliance will naturally follow. And as far as the other part of your question, about what other companies and other industries can learn, I would, also recommend that they take a look at that NIST 800-171 document. It has a lot of good controls that are kind of geared towards small and medium-sized businesses, so it's not too hard to work with. And there's, there are rumors that other government agencies like Department of Homeland Security are starting to look at the same MC program and trying to either looking into either implementing that for their vendors or following a very similar approach. So whatever, if you're doing business with the U.S. government, it's very important to take a look at these frameworks and start following some of them. But even if you aren't, there are many frameworks out there. The Center for Internet Security, for example, has a lot of good controls that you can choose from. And again, the end result or the end goal is to just get good cyber hygiene in place.
Absolutely. And cyber hygiene is just like dental hygiene. This is a daily practice. This is not something to wait for quarterly or once a year. So great information, Adham. We appreciate that. Now, San Diego is a global hub, not only for defense, but high-tech development, manufacturing, renowned education and research institutions, as well as tourism. This creates an unfortunate bullseye for damaging attacks in our region. So, Ian, what are some of the cyber challenges you're seeing at the local and state government levels, and how is the new San Diego Regional Cyber Lab working to address?
So I think a lot of the issues in the public sector, they come down to resources in a general sense. So we've conducted some informal surveys of the San Diego County region, primarily in the public sector. And what we see is a wide variety of public agencies with staffing and budgetary resources far below what they really should be for proper cybersecurity. It's taken a very long time for the general public, I think, to understand that public safety measures don't only come in the form of, say, a uniformed officer. That security comes in the form of digital, data as well. And so it comes it really comes in the form of a robust, secure infrastructure when you're talking about the public sector, especially. And it also comes in the form of personnel trained in modern cybersecurity practices. And so what we are doing in the Cyber Lab is addressing the issue by utilizing grant funding to purchase cyber resources on behalf of the region. So, for example, if a school district doesn't have the budget capacity to purchase licenses for robust cybersecurity training software, we can offer those licenses to them at no cost because we've done the legwork to secure alternative funding and then procure those licenses ourselves. We know that the procurement processes, for example, in the public sector are never easy or quick. And so when a public agency comes to us with their request and we drop a license in their lap the very next day, I think that's a big win for everyone. We've also bolstered our relationships to regional cyber resources such as the San Diego Law Enforcement Coordination Center by providing the LECC with additional threat intelligence monitoring tools, which allow for better proactive monitoring of potential threats against public sector agencies in our region. They can better protect these largely under-resourced public agencies by alerting them the moment a threat is on the horizon for their agency. And really, until these agencies get the necessary resources they need to perform the work themselves, we as an entire region need to work together to really protect one another.
Absolutely. Cybersecurity is a team sport. It is also a full contact sport.
Yeah.
So, and IBM's data breach report really supports that, reveals that an alarming 83% of organizations experience more than one. So not one, more than one breach during 2022. And attacks are only getting more sophisticated with evolving AI. Adham, what are some immediate cyber hygiene and planning measures all businesses can take to better prepare for the when, no longer the if?
Yeah, seriously, unfortunately, some of the stuff we're seeing, Lisa, especially some of the adversarial AI stuff that's coming out and that we're seeing is a bit alarming. I just attended recently the ISC Squared Security Congress conference, and there were several sessions there about the impact of the emerging AI tech on both the cyber offense and defense. But the bottom line is that AI is just going to make some of the threats that we're seeing today even harder to detect and defend against. For example, the use of deep fakes and use of AIs AI voice generation in phishing attacks are going to make them much harder to, for employees to, identify what's real and what's not. So my advice is to just follow the same basics that we talked about earlier. Some of the stuff, the cyber hygiene stuff that Joe mentioned, the multi-factor authentication, the good password policies, the training is very important. And if you follow some of this, some of those same basics that we talked about, but and build up your hygiene and implement your controls and frameworks, but at the same time, take a look at updating and enhancing some of your existing controls and some of your training that you provide. For example, if you provide, training to your employees against phishing, and I really hope everyone's doing that. But if you're doing that, then maybe look at how can you improve that to add references to this new emerging threats. Talk about deepfakes, talk about someone getting, an AI generated voice from someone they know, making it sound like it's the person leaving a voice message. That's much more convincing than just a standard text message. So alerting employees about that and training them. And then the other thing too is, there are a lot of resources out there, really available resources, whether from CISA or from like Ian's Cyber Lab, regional resources. Definitely go out and reach out to these guys and see what they're offering, because there's a lot of free stuff out there. So even if it's cost or resources a constraint, and we know that it is for a lot of small businesses, then make use of those resources and just focus on that cyber hygiene. And in doing so and staying up to date, you'll be able to keep up, hopefully, with some of the emerging threats.
Lisa, I do have a point to add. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't also mention the resources that the state of California has throughout the state, right? The California Cybersecurity and Integration Center works with all the various fusion centers throughout the state in order to provide support to our cyber communities, as well as resources. So I would also encourage our partners that are listening and watching today to kind of reach out to take a quick search engine look for the California Cybersecurity and Integration Center. I think their message mimics a lot of what we're seeing across the board from our partners. I think it's also important to mention that it's staying vigilant as we kind of step out of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I think it's important for us to reflect on some of those talking points that we messaged and we kind of harped on. That's not just a Cyber Month topic, right? We're looking at practicing a lot of these best practices throughout the year. Using strong network border protections, making it difficult for malicious actors to trick you or to exploit your systems, establishing a filtering process to quickly identify and block things like malicious code, worms, ransomwares, configuring email servers to utilize protocols designed to verify the legitimacy of email communications. As we kind of look at a lot of the conversation that we've had, especially here within our community in San Diego, through organizations such as CCOE, being messaged through our partners at San Diego Business Journal and others throughout the city. I think it's important to make mention that we keep pioneering that good foot forward and stay vigilant and making sure that we're protecting our systems.
Absolutely. You want to be the securest house on the block, right? You want to be the one with the locked doors, that you've checked all the areas where folks can get in, that and you want to make sure your neighbors are as well, because it just keeps your property value up. So it's the same from a business perspective. Adam, did you have a thought?
Yeah, I mean, to Joe's point too, is that I think one of the biggest issues we've seen is that a lot of those small businesses don't know about all the resources that's available. There really is a ton of resources available out there, freely available, but the problem is it's the awareness that many businesses don't know about that, and that's, I think, where organizations like CCOE provides tremendous value, because it connects the businesses, the local businesses, with those providers, and increases awareness of, okay, you have all this stuff available for you, how can we help? And I think that's huge, because again, I think the emerging theme here is that we're all in this together. It's a community effort, and we really need to work together to get this done, especially for SMBs.
Yeah, that I think, and Adam, there are so many resources that we stop to look, that are available for small, medium businesses, for large business, for private sector, public sector. CISA, we manage, a ton of field employees that provide physical assessments, cybersecurity assessments, emergency communication type assessments, all through our regional office here in the state of California, all of it being pushed and championed from our headquarters back in Washington, D.C. So again, for those partners that are online and listening and watching, CISA.org, or pardon me, CISA.gov is a great one-stop shop for any type of federal resources that you're looking to leverage for free here, within your day in, day out, managing your information system. So again, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention and give a little plug to the fam, to the CISA.gov fam.
Right.
But thank you.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
similarly, Joe, I think for the Cyber Lab, one thing that we've tried to do is provide some really accessible, easy resources for smaller businesses and agencies in the region on our own website as well for the San Diego Regional Cyber Lab. And if you Google us, it is the first result. I won't bore everybody with the URL. But we've got a whole resources tab up there, and we figured, if you're a small business, you're starting to grow, you probably don't really have any standardized policies related to cybersecurity. Maybe you've brought on a few employees now, and you need some standardized, password policies. You need some standard, some basics that every business should have. We've loaded up our website with a lot of resources for those types of folks, not only for, just templates for, business policies, but also trainings for, beginners. If you don't know anything about cybersecurity, there are so many free resources online, and we've tried to provide some links to that because everybody at this point should know some basics, and there's a lot of resources up there for that.
Absolutely. I think what we decided is, cybersecurity is not all doom and gloom. The good news is, as the threats evolve, so do the resources, so do the tools to increase cybersecurity awareness and preparedness. And I think one of my favorites, Joe, is actually on the CISA website, which is the Small Business Guide. It's a great resource that just has kind of step-by-step, because it gets to be a bit onerous for folks that are, already resource constrained. They may not be cyber experts. They are the IT professional in their organization, and also perhaps wear an operational hat in HR, and they have to be able to figure out how can they create greater security for their organization. These resources are out there. So I think, Ian, can you speak to some of the new innovations and tools available to organizations in our region? I'm foreshadowing because I'm excited about this one. CCOE is
I certainly can.
A delivery room on this one.
Yeah, I certainly can. Yeah, we've got a pretty exciting new resource that is in development here in the Cyber Lab. I really can't wait to unveil it to folks. It's still under development, but it's slated to be called My eCISO. It's a prototype right now. It's a working prototype. It's been in development over the last few months as part of a partnership between the San Diego Regional Cyber Lab, as you mentioned, the Cyber Center of Excellence, Cal Poly, and Amazon. They reached out to us to say what technology doesn't exist today that if it existed tomorrow, it would help your region. And so what we've come up with is My eCISO. It's going to be a conversational large language model type AI resource, but specifically designed to play the role of a virtual chief information security officer. So it's going to be designed to utilize a variety of different industry standard frameworks and choose the correct, most appropriate framework based on the profile of the user speaking to it. So as it speaks to this person, it'll help determine what framework really applies to your industry. And then it will then speak to the user until it believes that it has a pretty adequate picture of their current organization's cybersecurity maturity. And then it will provide recommendations on what they should prioritize next, what they should focus on for the immediate future to really best protect their environment. And then it will generate a report card of sorts that can be delivered to executive leadership for operational and financial decisions. I think a lot of the times folks just have a hard time advocating for the resources that they need. And so getting a really quick summary of where they're doing good and what they need to improve on is going to be really great. And we really think that this type of resource, this isn't specific to the private sector or the public sector. I think it's going to be hugely beneficial for small to mid-sized local businesses and under-resourced public sector agencies. So think school districts or smaller municipal agencies. These types of organizations, they struggle with securing the resources they need. And because they don't really have a lot of cyber personnel that can really identify what efforts they should be prioritizing. They don't have that CISO a lot of the times at these small agencies. So keep an eye out in the near future. We'll have some press releases coming out, likely from the city of San Diego, from Amazon, and a few others in the coming weeks. It's very exciting.
It sounds like a great tool, and I'm really looking forward to trying it out also from a defense perspective for a defense small business, how it can make use of it. And we've talked a little bit about the alarming adversarial AI, but this is a perfect example of how AI is also going to help with the defense and with securing our systems.
Definitely, and I think something unique. Obviously, there's a lot of AI models out there, and they're growing by the day. But a lot of them are not being developed with the public sector in mind. And me being an employee of a public sector agency, I think we have a unique perspective to make sure that a tool like this is developed with trust and safety in mind, so that other public sector agencies really trust that the data they're providing is secure, and that the data that they're getting back can largely be trusted because they know who it's coming from. And so I think that's a bit more unique for this effort.
Yeah, and the fact that it's also based on the NIST framework and then also has the ability to grow and expand to many, many other frameworks and to incorporate based on the user is fantastic. I know we had a lot of fun with it. From being hi, I'm the IT person for my family. How can I help secure my home? To I'm an IT professional for a school district. How do I begin? And to be able to really see it walk through was quite exciting and amazing. And we're definitely looking forward to bringing this resource to the region. So I think with that as well, Joe, I know we've spoken about a lot of the different CISA offerings. Are there additional resources that you would like to make sure our audience is aware of?
Yeah, and a lot of these can be found on CISA.gov. And I think an important resource to highlight are the people, right? And I think when we're looking at having someone to talk to with regards to cybersecurity best practices, throwing ideas at, you'll see quite a bit here in the San Diego and Southern California area, cybersecurity advisors as well as protective security advisors that address both cyber and infrastructure resiliency. And we have quite a bit of folks in the field that participate, very similar to these panels, that participate in live events. A lot of us work very closely with our fusion centers, San Diego Law Enforcement Coordination Center. Big shout out to those folks down there. Do a fantastic job. And again, pairing up with those in the field that might have some suggestions or can impart some information or some knowledge. Our guys and gals are always open to have discussions. So I would definitely look to connect with a cybersecurity advisor for cyber concerns, right? And then again, visit the CISA.gov. And as you kind of navigate that website, you can find our regional footprint. And then that will give you a contact or some contact information for the cybersecurity advisor in your local area. Thank you, Lisa.
Wonderful. This has been a great discussion. And I know we're just about out of time, and 'tis the season for increased cybercrime. So, what is your final piece of advice for San Diego businesses as we head into the busy year end and holiday season? And so, Ian, why don't we start with you?
Sorry, your question was, what can we advise as we get into the holiday season?
Yes, your one last piece of advice as we head into the time of year where folks get really busy with year end and holiday season, and so do the unfortunate bad actors.
Oh boy, I guess I would say stay on your toes. I think, this time of year is the time for family. So it's not just about protecting your businesses, it's about protecting your family as well. One thing that's great is that as you get trained for cyber for your work, you can take that home with you. Protect your kids' technology, protect your parents' technology. Really see cyber as a holistic part of your life, because it really is at this point. I think that would be my greatest piece of advice. And if you are a business in the San Diego County region and you're trying to really bolster the defenses of your own business and perhaps want some training techniques or really want to collaborate with others in the region, I say reach out to us at the San Diego Regional Cyber Lab. We've got a physical lab space down here. You can host events, you can host training opportunities. I think that's a great way to defend yourself in the next few months.
Fabulous. All right, Joe.
Yeah, so definitely as we're going into this holiday season, as you mentioned, there's going to be quite a bit of uptick in purchasing, and everyone's going to be out with their families. And as you mentioned, this is a prime time for nefarious activity, right? You're going to probably see an uptick in your email, your inboxes with all kinds of spam, all kinds of please click me, right? So be very mindful as you start to go into that. Into the holiday season, that there are going to be those out there looking to take advantage of people that are not paying attention or in the spirit and are going pretty quick, right? So with that being said, I would also encourage you all to reach out to your local FBI or CISA rep to kind of identify and make those contacts in advance, identify those individuals in your backyard. Remember, it's not a matter of if and when. So having those points of contact in advance or well in advance will go a long way to keeping you secure, or at least being able to ask questions or bring situations to law enforcement's concern.
Yes, our buddies at the FBI always say you want to develop the relationships left of click or left of boom before you need them. And you guys all wear capes. I've seen them, but you're phenomenal partners and very open to the community. So we very much appreciate that, Joe. And Adam, last but absolutely not least, some final thoughts for our viewers.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, it is the season for cybercrime. So just to echo Joe, and as CISA says, shields up. Stay vigilant, and to echo some of Ian's thoughts, also for the parents among us. Keep an eye on your kids' technology. Just make sure they're also safe and secure in what they're doing with their gadgets and their phones and stuff. And start teaching them about cybersecurity hygiene. It's never too early to get them started learning about these things. It will definitely benefit them, and it will benefit all of us. As we said, it takes a community to stay secure and stay safe.
Fabulous. Yes. And I think my final thought is plan, and more plan. This is the time of the year we start to think about 2024 and what's to come in the new year. Cybersecurity planning, incident response, strategy, including not just the basics of technology, but also your communication strategies, your employee training strategies, and your family training strategies. My children will tell you, 5 and 10, think before you click, because I say it to them every night at bedtime. It is important that we keep that theme in our community, because as I think we've all said today, we are definitely in this together. So many thanks, Ian, Joe, Adam, for the insightful discussion today. We invite businesses and job seekers to visit CCOE's website at sdccoe.org, as well as CISA, San Diego Regional Cyber Lab, for more information and free resources. We thank you for joining us, and please stay tuned for the San Diego Business Journal Cyber Trends 2024 series that will be kicking off in February. Thanks, everybody. Happy holidays and stay safe.